Hello, everyone. Welcome to Café New Canadians. This is a virtual chat show for newcomers by newcomers. Through conversations and interviews, we help you understand what to expect in your immigration journey, your immigrant journey in Canada, whether at work, in life, or in the community. Café New Canadians today brings to you the immigrant journey to success. We speak to a group of Torontonians. Café New Canadians is brought to you by New Canadians, which, like I said, is a TV and web series for newcomers by newcomers. You can watch us on cable, on Omni Television. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also follow us and get updated on all that we're doing for newcomer resources on our website, newcanadians.tv. And I'm your host for the evening, Vasudha Sharma. I'm very pleased to welcome our guests for this session. Please welcome Oscar Cecena, founder and host of the Immigrants of Toronto podcast, Farida Talaat, a cross-stitch artist based in Toronto, and Meenal, Vyas, and Anand, Narayanan, an immigrant couple living in the city. Before I come to my guests and start the conversation, a quick note for our viewers today. Please feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A tab on Zoom or in the chat option on YouTube. Whatever intrigues you, whatever is on your mind, feel free to type away, and we'll take up your questions with our panelists today. All right, so on the occasion of the upcoming Toronto Newcomer Day, we decided to welcome a group of Torontonians and talk about their journey as immigrants, as newcomers in Canada. Farida, Oscar, Anand, and Meenal, thank you for joining us today. If I can do just a roundtable question, one common question to all of you to just set the tone of this conversation. If you look back at your journey of the past few years, moving to Canada and settling in here, if you look back and reflect, what one word or one phrase comes to your mind to describe that experience? If I can start with Oscar.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think if I had to pick one word for the journey, would be change.
Change, excellent. Meenal and Anand, I don't know if I should come to you individually, if you want to speak as a family.
Yeah, we would say it is an adventurous journey.
Yeah, it's been life-changing.
Adventure.
Yeah,
life-changing.
Yeah.
Farida?
I would certainly go with don't look back is my term.
And if I had to put all of these adjectives, phrases, descriptors in one sentence, I would say that would be the nutshell of moving to Canada and settling in here and finding success. Excellent. So, so all of you came with well-established careers and, much ahead in achieving your professional success back in your country of origin. It takes a lot of courage and gumption to uproot yourself and, make this journey and start settling yourself here in a new country. What do you think worked in your favor in terms of having a mindset, an attitude? What is it that you did right or did do wrong and then learned from it and then got on the right track? Whoever wants to go first.
We left, Oscar and Farida.
It's okay. I think one of the things that that I had to learn, and it was something I was forced into, was to leave my idea of the comfort zone instead of just going through the things I was used to do. It was just moving completely outside and relearn a lot of things. So I would say I did that wrong. So now that I look back, I would just do it. I would come from the beginning with an open mind and just trying to adapt to this new culture.
Yeah, I agree. I believe that preparedness is key. You must absolutely plan. I think to your question, Vasudha, one thing that worked for me is bilingualism. I do stress that, if someone has English skills or French speaking skills, to really stress on those. They're highly important. And also to the gentleman's note, also learn to unlearn, come with the mentality of while you're uprooting yourself, know that you're also putting in new roots, which will require a tremendous amount of unlearning old things, being open to learning new things as you come.
Yeah.
Did you come with this realization or did you learn it the hard way?
You know what? I would definitely say there are ups and downs, and there are things that you can certainly not prepare for, no matter how prepared you are, and you're going to end up with lots of surprises and lots of setbacks and challenges. But if you've at least, accounted for some amount of preparedness, it's going to help you overcome these obstacles as you go.
Absolutely. Meenal and Anand, how did you go about your journey? What were your, do you recall your first months in Toronto or in Canada? When did realization strike that you have taken on an uphill battle and it's going to take a different kind of Meenal and a different kind of Anand to really achieve the kind of dream life you had come to pursue?
Yeah. I think your question says it all. Like you need to be a different person that you have, and something that Oscar mentioned really, rung a bell with me was just leaving the comfort zone behind, because we are accustomed to a certain type of lifestyle, and just uprooting all that and being able to unlearn everything, because this was our idea of comfort, and things were easy, everybody and everything. So especially when you're later, you're slightly older, and then you do this migration, really takes a bit of gumption. But I believe the maturity that comes with it really helps you, like just not being disappointed, and being more prepared, being able to learn. So in that first month, that's what we did. Well, we landed here and we had very few friends, handful, like I could count them on my fingers. And our basic objective was just learning as much as possible and being prepared for the biggest challenge. It's the reason why I chose life changing is because it's the hardest thing that we had to do. Things were easy when you're back home, but when you have to change everything, and doing it willingly is one of the most hardest things. So in that first month, I remember just learning from where to shop, what needs to be bought, what to cook, other things, and just finding the right jobs. Like I think it was just like whirlwind in that first month. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
As you go through those initial years of figuring out what to buy, where to buy, lacking that social support system, what do you tell yourself in that phase? Because a lot of immigrants go through this phase of reminiscing old times, thinking about plan Bs of what could happen if they move back to their country of origin, calling their old employers. And I know as new immigrants come to this country, they're going to experience the same thing. What do you tell yourself then? Oscar, you've been in Canada the longest from this group, 8 years, I believe.
Yeah.
What were your initial years like, and how did you keep your resolve strong?
So my first years were, I would say, kind of normal. I'm using air quotes because I know that for immigrants, nothing is normal. But I came here as a student, so I studied for a year, and then I went into the job market. I don't think I ever felt I never felt that I should go back home. Like for me, the moment that I landed here is like, this is my new home, and I'm stuck with this. It's like, not in a bad way. I wanted to be stuck with this new home. So, but I've got this question many times, and usually what I tell people when they ask me, like, how do you cope with like being away from home, being away from the people you love? Because when you move here, most of the time you have no family, no friends. Like everything is back where you grew up. So one of the things I tell them is, think about the things that made you come here. Like when you made that decision, there was something going in your mind that made you decide that this was the best choice. So go back to that, revisit whatever thought was, and decide, because maybe it's not. Like people change. So maybe a year ago it was the best decision, but now it's not. But if you can actually go back and think about it, it actually helps to kind of like put your feet on the ground.
Yeah, and higher the risk, higher the reward. And I believe that, say in the technology career or any career today, because of digitization of everything, most skills have had to be changed. People need to upskill. So whether you are in your country of origin, you will be going through a reinvention of some kind, maybe moving away from your career choice to maybe something 2.0. So that reinvention was going to come in, be it in Canada or your country of origin. So change we should not fear. Interesting. So if can you all recall a defining moment in your years in Canada that really helped jumpstart your professional careers? What did you choose to do? In my case, it was volunteering. When I discovered the value of volunteering on the Canadian resume for jobs here, I immediately started doing that in my line of skill. What in your areas did you decide to do? And, kind of like metaphorical stepping out of the door, because I literally stepped out of the door instead of just applying for resumes. What did all of you do in your individual areas? Farida, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with this more. I think coming from a public relations and communications background, it helped that it was a bit of a versatile industry. You can work with clients, you can work across different fields and domains, whether in-house or with agencies. And you know what, to your point, whilst I applied for a number of roles and jobs in my industry, I was equally open to, potentially pursuing other fields of work and doing something totally out of the box, which I wouldn't have necessarily done back home. But just being in Canada, makes you really want to pursue all these different avenues. I also agree very much with you on education, and to Oscar's point on learning something new and getting new skills and taking courses and getting, the much admired Canadian experience, whether, like you mentioned, volunteering or working or finding some kind of pro bono work. Funnily enough, towards the end of my job search, I was, about to give up, as we all have this moment at some point. And ironically, it was this very job that finally, caught the hook. I was made an offer, and here I am working in this very role for almost 18 months now. So never give up, as cliche as it sounds. Do continue to persevere in what you're doing.
I did the most common Zoom blunder ever, speaking on mute. Anyways, Meenal and Anand, networking is the big bad word that's always used and almost abused in immigrant circles. Network. Did you ever apply networking to your job hunt, your career hunt, or even finding friends? How did you apply networking to yourself and personalize it? Because there are so many ways to do it.
I think, as you said, people think networking is bad. And probably we should look at it as an opportunity to just meet more people, because you've come to a country where you don't know anybody. So you have to work harder than the others just to find more like-minded people. And probably that's what I did. My biggest point that I wanted to do the moment we landed here was just, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's in marketing, and I'm sure there are more like-minded people, just making sure that we meet people from the same background and also with the same experiences. So networking hasn't just helped in getting jobs. I think getting job was thankfully slightly easier, but just networking has helped me get friends. I have so many friends and my second family here, because we came with nothing and nobody, but today we have a group of friends that we can call our family. They are at the beck and call of each other. So that really helps you feel less alone. And it's a difficult journey when you're an immigrant, but that emotional support that you have here makes it really worthwhile. It makes it easy.
How did you break the hesitation of approaching somebody you don't know and trying to network?
So I mean, the other person, right? Like they are just like you. They are going to be hesitant. Like, how do I speak to this person? So sometimes it helps, like with a simple smile and hey, hello, like I am so and so. Just introduce yourself, like, and just ask us gentle questions like what you're doing. Like, it doesn't have to go in depth. Just as an icebreaker, have some conversations about weather, about how the city is, etc. Right? Some sports, so these kind of conversations, right? It helps in breaking that ice in a first conversation, and it makes it easy for the other person to trust you and then respond in a much more positive and non-formal way. So that's what I had followed. Yeah.
And I think that's the right approach. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Anand. Oscar, I know that you also have a very nice podcast where you interview immigrants. In all the interviews that you have done, what is the common thread between everybody who's come in here and then struggled and finally then found success in Canada? What do you see common through all of those stories?
That's a good question. I think most of the people that I've interviewing. So one of the things I'm gonna just take a step back. One of the things that I've noticed in the podcast is that every time that I reach out to someone to share their story, they are very reluctant in doing it unless they're actually in a good place. Like if they are struggling, if they're, let's say that they just got laid off or they're finding very difficult to find a job, they are like, no, I don't want to share this because maybe I'm ashamed or something like that. So most of the people that I interview, it's people that have already went down the hill and now they're up. Now they actually reached a point where they feel comfortable sharing their success. And so I would say the most common thing that I've noticed is the struggle that people have with Canadian experience, like networking, creating a new network of friends, acquaintances, everybody, and because it takes time, right? Like, for example, in my case, I moved here when I was 35, and I remember like 2 years or 3 years in Canada, someone asked me like, "Hey, do you know a lawyer?" And I thought about like five people in Mexico. It's like, well, yeah, it doesn't matter if whoever I know there, but here I didn't, and it was because, I mean, I spent 35 years back there, and now I've spent only 3 here, so it requires a little more effort. So I would say the common is the struggle that people have and the effort that they know they need to make to become part of the, I would say, the Canadian life. What they decided to come here.
To your earlier point about the shame associated with not sharing or coming out in the open to admit that this is hard and it's probably going to take me a complete, breakdown of me and then uh, rising like a phoenix from the ground, because that truly is what happens. You shed your old self and become
Yeah.
somebody new. And I know I've experienced that too, because you hear from your folks and your circle back home. They have all these big expectations of you that you're going to make it. As soon as you go, you're going to make it. They feel the fact that you've been invited on a certain skills program to come to this country means the golden ticket, and everything else just has to be a bed of roses. So I think through this conversation, we also need to send that message out that that's only step one to enter this beautiful country. And then it's a whole new journey, which is going to be beautiful. It's going to be tough, but lots of challenges, and you learn so much through that process. So don't feel that shame, share openly. And compared to previous years, now there's such a big community. Oscar's podcast, New Canadians, Café New Canadians, so many small community forums where you can come and share and also hear from people like us. Excellent. So speaking a little bit about Toronto, and we all love Toronto. Until a few months ago, I was also living in Toronto, so I can't claim that anymore. So why did all of you choose to settle in Toronto? What kind of opportunities did you research or know about the way of life? How did you pick Toronto? Anybody who wants to go first? Farida, you came from Dubai, if you want to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. In Dubai, there was a Canadian Business Council, and I was just networking in preparation for my move and relocation to Toronto. And just organically, there happened to be, a ton of resources and a lot of potential network opportunities. And the economy was the strongest. It's the largest city. So deciding to come to Toronto was, I think, the most natural step for me to do. And actually, after having come here, I visited Ottawa, I visited Vancouver, and I let you know that I'm more than happy to potentially move to these cities if I finished maybe 5 or 10 years in Toronto. I think Canada is large enough to try every single city for 15 years and still you wouldn't, finish it all. So potentially a move to the West would be something on the horizon. But being in Toronto, I love this city tremendously. I have tons of friends, tons of opportunities, volunteer work, art. You may know that through my cross-stitch work, I cross-stitch a lot on Canada in general and Toronto in specific. For example, I've done this little cross-stitch artwork of the CN Tower, which became very popular. And I think, through networking from back home in Dubai, I already knew a lot of potential people here in Toronto that can perhaps assist, or just having a network to start with, a small community to begin with. And then you can launch yourself from there onwards. It's a beautiful city. It's not the capital, obviously, but it's the largest in Canada in terms of, population. It's the most populous country or city. And, I don't think anyone who will, potentially come to Toronto will face any difficulty. And, being a large cosmopolitan city, it has the most highest chance of success.
Yeah. And I think, Farida, you're an excellent example of the fact that you can have a side hustle, a side passion project, and find so many avenues to express yourself. I believe you have been featured in media publications and also on some other platforms. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that's very correct. So in my art, also coupled with my background in PR and communications and social media, it just happens so organically that I pitch my art, and after researching what the media and the reporters and journalists are writing about, Meenal would know this. We all know too well, through our common industry. If you just do some research and know what the media are writing about, you're more likely to be published. Just keep in touch with journalists, know what they're interested in, what trends are happening at the moment. And I think if you just pitch an idea, Toronto and Canada at large is such an open country like that. Maybe back home in our countries, it's not as transparent. But I totally think if you speak to the government or pitch an idea to a politician, even there's a large degree of responsiveness, and you will definitely hear back in terms of feedback of some sort. So always pitch an idea. Know that there's a group of people or a niche market, or even just a small Facebook group that's willing, interested in your idea. Nothing is wrong. No idea is off the grid. Just go ahead and pitch it.
Earlier, I think Meenal was interested in answering the question about Toronto. Meenal, go ahead.
No, I was actually, I will answer the question, but I couldn't agree more with what Farida said. I think everything that she said made sense, and it's absolutely right, just about choosing Toronto as a place for any immigrant. You would want to be in a place which is obviously multicultural. Like every fifth person here is somebody who's migrated from somewhere. So you would find more like-minded people. It is so welcoming, and it is it's open. They would not judge you for some of your previous backgrounds, as long as you can prove and pitch the idea that Farida mentioned. It's apt. You just have to work towards it, keep your ear to the ground, make sure that you're putting in the hours, and it does reward you back. Sometimes it is easier, sometimes it takes longer, but it would never really discriminate. Like you would eventually find success. And Toronto was the most obvious choice that for us as well. Like just coming from different working backgrounds, I worked in media and marketing. So for me, it had to be here and probably nowhere else. This city has everything that you would want. And especially coming from Mumbai, I had to be in a place which was similar and probably bigger than Mumbai. So yeah, and it was true for him as well.
Yeah. I've lived in a few multicultural cities like Singapore and even in Europe. So for me, also the obvious choice was a place which welcomes everyone and also has something for all in terms of opportunity and living space. And I really appreciate that Toronto has all of it. Like, I couldn't have asked more than that. Yeah.
Oscar, what do you appreciate about living and working in Toronto?
I think the thing that I like the most about Toronto is what everybody was saying, like the number of people that were not born here is impressive. So it's not only the mix of cultures that we have, but also, like, for example, little things like food. You can go around and taste like any type of food of any place in the world, and it's really good. So I mean, I eat a lot, like it's like a hobby for me. So it's one of the things that I like having that that multiculturalism, not only in I would say in ways of thinking, but also in more tangible ways like food, like some festivals, art as well, those kind of things. I think it's very, very important, because the more you know, the more prepared you are for the future and for living in a globalized world like we live in now. So yeah, I would say that's the thing I like the most about the city.
Now, the city also provides a number of resources and support services. Did these kind of support systems, the YMCA, the library, or other organizations, did they feature in your immigrant journey? I remember going to the YMCA for volunteer opportunities. What about you, Oscar?
I was just gonna say, like, when we were doing the research to come here, one of the things I really was very excited about was the public library, because in my country we don't really have a system like that. So knowing that there's a public library in walking distance from any place in Toronto, I was super excited about it. So, and I've been using it for 8 years.
Yeah, I can totally vouch for that too. That's an altogether different experience, especially the library I used to visit. I think the weekend had shot a music video, so I almost felt like I was going to this really fancy place. Okay, great. Coming back to the job, the career part of your immigration journey. Why do I keep saying immigrant journeys? Meenal and Anand, tell us about what kind of work experience you had back in your country of origin, and when you came here, what kind of work did you put into identifying what are the skills you can transfer? What is it that you need to upskill yourself into? How did you then segment what kind of opportunities then did you start pursuing? Is it programmatic, or you just went with the flow, picked up whatever first opportunity came your way? I'm asking this question so as to kind of give our viewers a sort of a formula that these are the basic things you might have to do. You might just seamlessly integrate into the job market here. Your skills might be very relevant, but if not, what is it that you need to do?
I would say, like, keeping an open mind there is very important. So when we moved to Canada, right, in my perspective, like, I come from a telecom background in India. I worked in technology space. So I was thinking more of leaning towards only looking at telecom. But then I soon realized that, like, if I open myself, then I'm gonna be invited by more number of employers, and I'm gonna be open towards a lot of other opportunities. Mm-hmm. So what helps is, like, understanding your skill and where you stand, comparing with the market and other candidates, and then have a small plan on how you can improvise yourself. Say you want to do any kind of certifications, like a project management certification or any developer coding certifications, any of those. So identifying those gaps and then working towards filling that would certainly help a lot. And what I had seen in my experience here as well is employers want to know what you have done. That is one part. Second thing is, have you shown how you are open to learning new things? That is a very important aspect employers are really valuing in the country. So as long as you focused on your strength and learned something towards a job or towards a field where you want to go, it should be fine.
Yeah, that's true. I come from marketing background and media. I worked in CNBC back home, but breaking into the media and especially publication here can get difficult, especially in mainstream. I did have a master's in marketing, and I worked in different aspects of it, but just looking at what are the right skills, what are the transferable skills that I can really highlight here, instead of what I thought were my high points, and that's very important. We have been thinking that, oh, these are my big high points in my career, but probably that don't make sense here because it's not relevant. They don't have the same set of outlets or even comparable touch points. So just being able to use a generic but more valuable skills makes sense. Like I started focusing on applying for marketing jobs as opposed to only media and content because I came from that background. I started up learning new tools. So when I was applying for my current job where I'm currently working, it's been more than almost 2 years. I had to learn data analytics as a part of it, and that was not something that I ever had to do. I knew only basics, but to be able to learn Tableau, to be able to learn web analytics and few other things, that I had to be open to learning. They asked me that this job would require it, and if you're willing to learn. So how Anand mentioned, it really is about showing willingness that, yeah, we'll do whatever it takes because if this these are the skills that are required for a job here, so you would have to learn that. So I post work, I would spend some time just learning different tools online. So yeah, it was initially tough, but I think once you settle in, it becomes easier.
And have you observed in your own personal career journey that this demand that you need to continue learning, continue to pick up new skills, new tools, has that continued in your field of career?
Yeah, absolutely. I have got an opportunity to transition my career from just simple marketing to product marketing. I'm part of a team that is working on launching new apps, and I think with time, I'm really looking to doing some sort of certification that can really take my journey a little ahead, because this market really needs you to continuously learn. Unlike back home, it was easy for you to grow back home, that after you reach a certain age, you automatically start getting promotions and other things. Unlike here, you have to really prove at every stage. So learning every year something new is definitely important.
Excellent point. Oscar, Farida, you're also in the marketing field. Did you need to upskill yourself, kind of tweak the way you pitched yourself in interviews or the kind of jobs you applied for? How did you approach that?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of changes to take into consideration, from entire career journeys down to the wording of small words or certain words and terms on your resume to make them more Canadian oriented. I've had experience before in the Middle East as well as in Europe, but certainly there's no discounting the North American experience. It's such a large continent, and between the States and Canada, it's half of the West, and it offers an entire different school of thought across different industries. So yeah, it certainly does apply in our industry, marketing, communications, and social media and media and so on. And I would say, Canada is such an education-oriented country. So as great an experience and education we have back home, I would still recommend people getting some kind of equivalency or like a sister or an advanced education certificate to what they've already studied back home. If someone has a bachelor's, for example, I would recommend getting a master's. If you have a master's, maybe have a side or horizontal diploma to supplement their resume and their LinkedIn. And I would say also, focus on the skills that you do have rather than what you lack. And if you can, try to fill the gap of where you're lacking, that would be great. And, different employers will look at different things. I used to have people come up to me and say, oh, we think you'd be good in events. Whereas I wouldn't have any event, management experience, but hey, well and good. If they think I can do well in events, who am I to say, no, I'm not going to take this job opportunity? If they see this potential, by all means, grab it, and just call yourself a new events manager. That's an additional thing that you can, another hat that you can wear. So be open to people's feedback, be like a chameleon, be highly agile, wear as many hats as you can until one, fits. and then start running with that.
Love that advice. Dabble in everything. Oscar, when you came 8 years ago, I think today immigrants feel that all the odds are stacked against them. But when you came, I think LinkedIn wasn't as big. I can only now think of LinkedIn because of the huge role it plays in everybody's job search. What did you do? I mean, did you just go randomly call people and set up a coffee meeting? I don't know. What did you do?
I guess it was like, again, like it was a different time. Like it was like, I think everything before the pandemic was completely different. But in that case, like 8 years ago, when we moved here, LinkedIn was a thing, but it wasn't as big as it is right now. But I used it a lot. So what happened in my case was a little different. And I think I'm going to take something that Farida said, because it's like, instead of focusing on the things that you lack, you should focus on the things that you actually know what to do. So I came here to study human resources, but I've been in software my whole life. I was an IT project manager back in Mexico. So when I moved here, it's like, I'm switching countries, I'm going to switch careers. Like, that's kind of my mindset. And I wanted to learn something different. But after working in human resources for a year after graduating, I realized that, well, I'm not going to focus on the things that I don't know, which is human resource and those kind of things. I'm going to focus on the things that I know, which is software, which is project management, all that. And I came back to this. And to get that job, I would say most of my applications were through LinkedIn and companies that were promoting jobs in LinkedIn. But I actually took a step further. I actually contacted people and say, hey, I noticed that you work in this company. Would you mind if I give you a quick call? I just want to learn a little bit about the company. Some people were like, well, why, instead of just having a call, let's go for a coffee. And it actually helps. Like, I don't think I'm in contact with anybody that I met back then, but it gave me some confidence to say, like, well, if people are willing to meet me, maybe there's going to be an employer that is willing to talk to me. So it gave me that confidence to feel more prepared when I went to interviews, when I received calls from HR, those kind of things. So yeah, again, I don't think immigrants have, like, all the odds are against them. It's challenging. It is. I'm not going to lie, but there's a lot of opportunity here. So it's more. I would say, just, you need to come with an open mind. You need to come with the idea that you're going to be adapting to something completely new, and just run from there. And again, as Farida said, like, try many hats until one fits. And I think that's really good advice.
And maybe now you're on the other side and you're being approached by immigrants, entering your DMs and messaging you for advice. What do you tell them?
Kind of the same of what I said. I usually tell them that, yeah, it's not easy. And actually, that's the reason why I started the podcast. I wanted to showcase stories of people like me that, like, it's not that, as you said, it's not that because you win the lottery and you're able to come here, then everything is going to be perfect. I would say that, at least in my experience, it took us maybe a couple of years to get here, like doing all the process and everything. But when I look back, I think those 2 years were the easy part, like getting here, getting used to be like new, like be alone, quote unquote, but meeting new people, missing all the things that you miss back in your home country, like birthdays, weddings, all the things that you miss back then because you cannot fly every weekend for something that is happening. I think that's the hardest part. And if you put the Canadian experience, that I'm always, it's one of my pet peeves. It's if you put that on top of the adaptation and all the things that we as immigrants are struggling with when we come here, it just can be overwhelming. So when someone approaches, I just try to say, like, hey, okay, yeah, you might feel overwhelmed right now, but just start instead of seeing it as a mountain, just see it as a collection of rocks, and just grab one rock at a time, and things are going to become easier.
I agree. One task, one day at a time. But amidst all these, the the first year journey, I think we should also remember that we need to enjoy the first year journey, because you probably are getting small jobs, not maybe permanent full-time employment. Okay, you're living slightly on your savings or a small paycheck, but this probably is the only year you'll have when you can also travel and discover Canada, because if later you establish your career, then you're on the clock and you have those limited weeks of annual holidays. So have you all discovered Canada? What have you, outside of Ontario or within Ontario, outside of Toronto, any specific regions that you've loved and discovered that you can want to share with our immigrant viewers? Anybody traveled outside? I've discovered Quebec before the pandemic. I would love to discover the western side of Canada. Banff was on my list, but that's not happening anytime soon. What about you guys? Any travel stories?
Yeah, I've been to cities like Ottawa, for example. I've explored, the province of Ontario quite a bit. God knows the GTA alone, is full of different cities. So if you live in Toronto, you'll have opportunities to go to entirely different regions from, just by driving an hour by car. And then I've taken the train pre-pandemic lots of times to Ottawa. I've been to the province of Quebec, so Montreal as well as Quebec City. Very, very beautiful cities, I think. If anyone lives within, the region of Ontario and Quebec, visit Gatineau as well. There's tremendous traveling opportunities once everything is back to normal. I haven't ventured out for the longest time to the west until last November when I went to Vancouver. And, I was torn between Toronto and Vancouver. Toronto is the love of my life, but Vancouver is such a beautiful city. The province of British Columbia the nature is just breathtaking. It's really, really very stunning. And, all of us being very city, cosmopolitan, international, global citizens, I think Vancouver also is very high on the list.
So on that light note, let's do a quick rapid fire or a slow rapid fire. Just 4 or 5 questions about Toronto, and I'll take up one question and go to each one of you. Maybe I'll go in the order in which I can see the boxes. I can see Farida, Oscar, and then Meenal, Anand. Okay, so first question. Favorite green space in the city? Farida.
Oh, I would have to say Hyde Park. I've been living close to the park for the last 3 years. I've settled in here. This is my home. I go almost every day. And at this moment, actually, as we speak, this is the season of the cherry blossoms. So I would certainly advise everyone to go and visit them. You may just catch the last 3 or 2. But I just love this park so much. It's huge in size. It has a water feature, a lake, but equally just green spaces to have a picnic or a jog or a run, or it's perfect for kids and pets, biking, nothing you can't do in Hyde Park.
Oscar, favorite green space in the city?
I was going to say Hyde Park, but now that Farida mentioned it, I would say right now it's a Coronation Park. I really like it. I like the fact that you're walking by the lake and you see the huge lake on your left side or your right side, depending on which way you're going. And I find it very peaceful. I find it like every time that I finish work and I want to go out and calm down, it's a great spot to be.
Yeah. And do you get a view of the CN Tower from Coronation Park?
Yes.
Or is that you do, right?
You do.
I think the CN Tower is that one enduring symbol that when you research Canada, you see the CN Tower. And when you come here, move to the city, any street you work on or live on, when you see a peak of the CN Tower, it's such a feeling of accomplishment, hope, and joy that, oh my God, I dreamed of coming here and now I'm living close to this iconic monument. I'm sure all of you also feel like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to broaden that question, Meenal. Green space or nature space in the city?
Okay. Actually, I was going to say Hyde Park because we stay very close to Hyde Park. I didn't know Farida stayed so close by. But outside of Hyde Park, I think...
Mary Curtis is also good.
Yeah. Mary Curtis has been nice. So last year, actually, we went to a couple of parks, but Mary Curtis is like on top of the list apart from Hyde Park, I think. It's just very peaceful and you get a view of the lake without being disturb. So yeah,
And you can do barbecue as well, so it's good.
Now, this next question may pinch. Favorite summer/winter activities? It could be pre-pandemic or currently. Farida.
Yeah, sure. Lately, I've been going on a lot of hikes with my friends. We're almost running out of places to go to, despite there being so many trails and hikes and so on. Sometimes I just take a book or do my art outdoors just to hear the birds chirping. So I would just say hiking, like a light hike slash walking or jogging.
Oscar?
Yeah, I think in my case it's going to be the same. It's like I like walking a lot, so I do the same thing. I take a walk. Sometimes I grab my camera, sometimes I grab a book or a notepad if I'm writing something. So it's just, again, like, because you're relaxed and you're in the nature and you're listening to the birds and everything, it just gives a different sensation. So yeah, that would sort of be my favorite activity.
Beautiful. Meenal and Anand.
I think pre-pandemic was visiting all the lakes. Like, I think we visited Lake Simcoe a couple of times just because it's so beautiful. Like, you could just go for a quick swim and also do a simple hike and do a picnic. So probably just doing picnics, like most often than not, every weekend we are at High Park doing some sort of picnic or trail. Right. So yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, favorite takeout or restaurant or cuisine in Toronto that you discovered for the first time or regularly enjoy? Farida.
Again, pre-pandemic, my friends threw me a birthday party in 2019 at this really cute restaurant called Sophia in Yorkville. And we just had the greatest time, and it's such a small nook in Yorkville, you almost can't find it. But ever since being there, we've been going very often, and we've just been throwing each other's birthday parties over there out of convenience.
Nice. Okay, favorite food, takeout, restaurant, cuisine?
I'm going to go with every food. But I would say if I had to pick one, I would say Indian food, especially because in Mexico, we don't really have a lot of Indian restaurants. So when I came here and there was one every couple of blocks, I just find it amazing and I love it. So yeah.
What's your favorite Indian dish?
That's a good question. I don't know. Like, it depends on the day. I think today I'm craving palak paneer, so it might be the one today.
Oh, that's lovely. Meenal and Anand?
We both have two different favorite takeouts, and that's where we usually just do like a toss up. But my go-to is always picking a nice sushi bento box or something. So, and there are a lot of options here the city has to offer. So sushi definitely my go-to.
I like to go pick up momos or some nice chili chicken, like a lot of Tibetan restaurants around. So you could just walk into a street and you would find like 4 or 5 of them. You have so many options. So we walk there and pick them.
Okay. And last question, favorite culture hotspot of the city? Graffiti Alley is one, like maybe an old neighborhood. What's one neighborhood or place in Toronto where you like to discover, experience culture of any kind? Farida.
Sure. There's a street called the Sterling Street in Toronto. It's very new, such a small street with a lot of industrial warehouses. And very recently, just before the pandemic, literally, a museum opened there. It's called MOCA, the Museum of Contemporary Art. And they launched with an exhibition around Banksy. So I just went to view that. And ever since, I've been going to the museum to see their art, programming. They have a small cafe and there's a little bookshop next to it, and you can just take a stroll, along the street. It's an entire street / very small neighborhood that you can do a lot in one day or one weekend.
Oscar?
I think in my case, I would pick the AGO. Like it's pretty convenient for me. It's pretty close to my home and my work and everything. And I find it very, I find it a really great place to calm down. I think that everything that I've said today looks like I'm very stressed and I need to calm down every time. But in this case, I just find it very nice, like to be able to see the art and sit there and stay there and grab a coffee if you want. Even just like stay in the cafeteria for a couple of hours. It's a really nice place to be. It's quiet. It's really nice.
Okay, and lastly, Meenal, Anand.
Maybe Casa Loma, and they do have it. It's so culturally and historically important. Like it's one of the most iconic thing after CN Tower. So maybe Casa Loma, and also there are a lot of cultural hotspots everywhere where we stay. Roncesvalles has a very nice Polish community where they have amazing food, and we pre-pandemic we got a chance to visit the Polish festival, which was I think a week long, but the just the different kind of foods that we got to eat and the culture, they had very nice art forms. So it really gives you like a small glimpse of how the culture is. So yeah, finding those small festivals, it's the best thing about Toronto, I feel.
And broadens your horizon, and it's like a mirror into the whole globe. Lovely. Asking these questions were like giving our immigrant viewers a sense of purpose with all the job and the career talk, and also giving them a window into what life is like here. It can be fun, lots to discover and experience. Wonderful. So let's do one last round of questions. Your parting message to our viewers, starting with Farida. If there is one thing you can tell our viewers just to encapsulate the kind of attitude or the kind of actions they need to bring into their journey, if there's one thing you can tell them, what would that be?
Sure. I believe to assist any immigrant or expat or globetrotter in general, is if they're doing this immigration / travel, uprooting experience, is to really never look back, despite all the great and amazing positive things which they had back home. Come to Canada looking to have a new set of friends and replicating the positive things that you've had back home, and over and above that, new, different Canadian international experiences. Canada is such a beautiful country; it will not disappoint, and I don't think anyone ever makes a wrong decision deciding to come to Canada, any city in that case.
Well said. Oscar, if there's one thing you can tell our viewers today, what would that be?
I would say that just to everybody who's coming or thinking about coming to Canada, just keep an open mind and make sure that you leave your comfort zone, because this journey, whenever, like if you can be 20, you can be 40, 50, is going to change you. So keep an open mind and understand that the person that you were when you decided to move here, it's a completely different person than the person you are a few years after coming here.
And don't you become a better person? Not a reflection on the countries we come from, just that it kind of like polishes you from a stone to a diamond.
Yeah.
Meenal and Anand.
So I would say like open to learning. Keep yourself open so that like you don't say no for anything, be it an opportunity or anything that you could learn. Second thing and most important thing is to be prepared to take your driver's license when you come here. You would get a job for sure. Nobody's going to take that away from you. But having that license would certainly help you in exploring other parts of the city and Canada as whole.
And don't get dejected if you fail the first time in your license. I failed twice. Public announcement. All right, great. Lovely talking to all of you. This was wonderful, a great insight on what it's like to move to Canada, settle in Toronto, and go through the initial years of struggle and just the wonderful life you've all created. Kudos to all of you. Congratulations on what you've achieved. And thank you for joining us on Café New Canadians. Now we're going to be joined by Mirona from, I'm going to go back to my notes to say her name correctly. Okay, Mirona Abbas Estefanos, Community Development Officer from the Toronto Newcomer office in the city of Toronto. Mirona is here to talk to us about what the Toronto Newcomer Day is and what they plan to do with it this year. Narona, thank you so much for joining us on Café New Canadians.
Thank you for having me today. I'm happy to be here with everyone.
Okay, give us an insight into what the Toronto Newcomer Day is. What is it that you do with this annual celebration?
So to give you a little bit of a better understanding of what Toronto Newcomer Day is, I think it's important to also give a little bit of context about the City of Toronto's Newcomer Office, which is what I'm part of. So the Newcomer Office was established in 2013 and takes a leadership role in promoting the inclusion and local prosperity of newcomers in Toronto by facilitating the implementation of the Toronto Newcomer Strategy, the Toronto Refugee Resettlement Program, the Integrating Cities Charter, and the Access TO policy. And that's just a very high level overview. So one of our big pieces of work includes coordinating Toronto Newcomer Day. So Toronto Newcomer Day was actually first proclaimed in 2015. It's an annual event that welcomes newcomers to Toronto, helps them understand and access a range of services, and celebrate their contribution to the city. The event typically is held in person and features a stage program hosted by Mayor Tory. It has newcomer performers, a citizenship ceremony, information fair, and tours of City Hall and other interactive activities. So we consider Toronto Newcomer Day to be a really powerful community building opportunity that brings together a number of stakeholders and promotes Toronto as a diverse, inclusive, and welcoming city. So that's just a very high level overview of what Toronto Newcomer Day is.
And this is an annual celebration with information booths and a marketplace and, real face-to-face networking and connections. So in the pandemic, how have you had to pivot and have your celebrations become virtual? Can you give us a picture into that?
Yeah, so last year during, the COVID-19 pandemic really hit in April, and our event typically takes place in May. So we initially had to cancel the 6th annual Newcomer Day, but we decided later on to host a more scaled down version focused more on social media. It was planned over the span of a few weeks. So it was really fast and focused on highlighting the contributions of newcomers with a focus on essential newcomer workers. As many of us know, many newcomers were working the front lines or in essential positions. And this year, we're going to be hosting another virtual Newcomer Day, but it's a bit more comprehensive.
So newly landed immigrants, newcomers, if they learn about Toronto Newcomer Day, what can they expect from that celebration, that event, that day? What do you want to tell them?
So, as I said, this year we're going to be hosting another virtual Toronto Newcomer Day in alignment with the public health guidelines. We've developed a really great comprehensive program that is engaging and meaningful. The event is set to start at 10 a.m. and end at 4 p.m. So it's just during the day, and it will take place on our Newcomer Day website, which can be found at toronto.ca/Newcomer Day. So it's very easy to find. Just to give everyone a better understanding of what this year's activities look like, we will be having the welcome gesture in partnership with Dreamwalker Dance Company to kick off Newcomer Day at 10 a.m. We're still going to be having our information fair, but virtually. So city divisions, community partners, and institutions will be able to provide important information on programs and services available for newcomer community members. And we have close to 100 exhibitors this year, so it's really great. And many of them are actually going to be hosting virtual rooms where they can meet and greet with newcomers and answer any questions they may have. We've partnered with the Toronto Public Library to showcase for an event showcasing author Kuum Kenkison, and he will be sharing about his journey from being a newcomer to choosing a path in the arts. So it's a very exciting event. We will have a message from Mayor Tory, which is just kind of a regular thing that we have at all Newcomer Days, but we will also be hosting a newcomer town hall with Mayor Tory, where newcomers will get an opportunity to learn about municipal government and ask any questions they may have. We've also partnered with the Neighborhood Arts Network for a week of digital programming focused on settlement and integration, and the activations will showcase films, music, and discussions. And we've partnered with Small World Music to showcase 2 amazing newcomer artists and their band Medusa and Monica Arabic Jazz. We will have a virtual tour of City Hall, and we will also be sharing a glimpse into the development of the Spirit Garden, which is being led by Toronto Council Fire Native Cultural Centre, and it's supposed to be, it will be developed at Nathan Phillips Square. So it's a really exciting development that's coming. So newcomers can find out more information and more details about each specific activity at toronto.ca/newcomer day. So it's really, we tried to make things really simple and easy and really accessible.
Lots to look forward to. Sounds like an exciting event. Thank you so much for joining us, Marina Estefanos from the city of Toronto, and to all our other guests, Farida, Oscar, Meenal, and Anand. It was a pleasure talking to you. You were watching Café New Canadians. Join us again for our next edition. We'll cover another topic relevant to the